Verse 14. Dai vesha guna mai mama maya duratyaya mameva ye prapadyanti mayametam taranti te. This divine potency of mine, which consists of the three modes of material nature, is extremely difficult to defeat, yet those that take shelter of me can cross beyond it. Verse 15. Namam duskritino muda prapadyante naradamaha mayaya parita gana asharam bhavam ashritaha. The foolish, the lowest of men, those whose knowledge is covered by illusion, and those who take shelter of impious activities, such unrighteous persons never surrender to me. Verse 16. Chaturvidha bhajante mam janasu kritino arjuna arta jignasur artarti ganicha bharatarshaba. O descendant of Bharat, there are four kinds of persons who are fortunate enough to worship me: those who are in distress, the inquisitive, those that seek wealth, and those that desire self-realization. Verse 17. Tesham gani nicha yukta eka bhaktir vishishyate priyo he jani no chartam aham sacha mama priyaha. Of these, one who desires self-realization is superior. He is always absorbed in thoughts of me and engaged in bhakti yoga. I am very dear to him, and he is very dear to me. Verse 18. Udara sarva evaite gani twatmaiva me matam asita sahi yuktatma mamevanutamam gatim. Certainly all of them are virtuous, yet I regard the self-realized devotee to be as my own self, because his mind is fully fixed upon me as his ultimate goal. Anuvritti commentary by Srila Guru Maharaj. Sri Krishna speaks here about his Maya potency, also known as Mahamaya, to distinguish it from his internal potency known as Yogamaya. Mahamaya is the potency of material energy and the modes of nature that condition all living beings in material existence, binding them to samsara. These three modes of material nature will be discussed at length in Chapter 14 of Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says that to escape the modes of material nature is very difficult for the conditioned living being, but one who takes shelter of Krishna in Bhakti Yoga can easily cross beyond them. This is recommended as follows. Akama sarva kamo va moksha kama udaradi tivrina bhakti yogena yajita purusam param. Whether one is without desire or full of desire or aspires for liberation, one should take shelter of the Supreme Person through Bhakti Yoga. That was the Srimad Bhagavatam. Krishna further explains that pious persons, the distressed, the inquisitive, those seeking wealth, and those desiring self-realization, take shelter of him. But of these, Krishna says that those in search of knowledge and self-realization are superior. After taking shelter of Sri Krishna for wealth, out of curiosity, or out of distress, it is often seen that such persons again resume their normal course of material activities. Those who come to Krishna for knowledge and self-realization truly become liberated from material desires and enter into a plane of eternal bliss. Ultimately, they attain Krishna's supreme abode, never to return to the world of birth and death, as will be explained in Chapter 15. Therefore, the seekers of self-realization who take shelter of Krishna and absorb all their thoughts and deeds in Krishna are considered the best among virtuous persons. Verse 19. Bahunam jamanam ante janavan mam prabhadyate Vasudeva sarvamiti samahatma sudurlabhaha. After many births, one who possesses knowledge surrenders unto me. He realizes that Vasudeva is the source of everything. Such a great personality is very rare. Verse 20. Kaimastaste Ritagana Prapajante Niya Devataha Tam Tam Niya Mamastaya Prakritya Niyatasvaya. Those whose intelligence has been lost to various material desires take shelter in other gods. Swayed by their natures, they perform various rituals. Verse 21. Yo yo yam yam tanum bhakta shradaya rachitam michate tasha tasha chalam shradam tam eva vidadham yaham. Whatever form of the demigods a man desires to worship with faith, I make his faith strong in that particular form. Verse 22. Sataya shradaya yuktas tasharadhanamihate labate cha tatakaman maiva vihitan hitan. One who worships that particular form with faith only attains the fulfillment of his desires due to my sanction alone. Verse 23. Antavatu palam tesham tadbavat yalpamedasam devam deva yajoyanti madbhaktayanti mamapi. However, the results achieved by such persons of little intelligence are temporary. Those who worship the demigods reach them, but my devotees attain me. Anuvritti commentary by Srila Guru Maharaj. Surrender to Sri Krishna may not be achieved in one lifetime. In fact, Krishna says that after many lifetimes of acquiring knowledge, one ultimately surrenders unto him, knowing Vasudeva Krishna to be the source of all that be. Indeed, such persons are very rare. Sa Mahatma Sadurlabhaha. Mahatma literally means a great personality or devotee of Krishna, but one does not become a Mahatma simply by rubber stamping. There are required qualities, and only those who manifest such qualities should be respected as a Mahatma. These qualities are mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita as follows. Kripalu Akrita Droha Satya Sarasama Nidosha Vadanya Mridu Suchi Akinchana Sarvabhakaraka Shanta Krishnaika Sharana Akama Aniha Stira Vijita Sadguna Mitabuk Apramata Manada Amani Gambira Karuna Maitra Kavi Daksha Mauni. Devotees of Sri Krishna are always merciful, humble, truthful, and equal to all, faultless, magnanimous, mild, and clean. They are without material possessions, and they perform welfare work for everyone. They are peaceful, surrendered to Krishna, and without desire. They are indifferent to material acquisitions and are fixed in devotion to Krishna. They completely control the 6 bad qualities, lust, anger, greed, and so forth. They eat only as much as required, and they are not intoxicated with false ego. They are respectful, grave, compassionate, and without false prestige. They are friendly, poetic, expert, and silent. That was the Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila. The popularity of the Bhakti movement in contemporary times has also come to include the worship of many demigods and demigoddesses, such as Shiva, Ganesh, Saraswati, Lakshmi, etc. However, according to Bhagavad Gita, the worship of various demigods is not on the same level as worshiping Krishna, and thus does not help one advance in self-realization. Bhakti Yoga is solely meant for Krishna. Bhakti is the reciprocal exchange between Krishna and his devotees, and thus bhakti is incompatible with the worship of the demigods. It is not that the demigods are false gods, but they simply cannot free one from material bondage. Krishna knows what is necessary for the ultimate good of all living creatures, and therefore he says that worship of demigods is less intelligent. It can also be said that those who worship the demigods worship Krishna indirectly, because the demigods are the representatives of Krishna for the management of universal affairs. In that way, the worship of demigods is also the worship of Krishna, save and except for the fruits of liberation. Only Krishna is known as Muktipada, the giver of liberation, or Mukunda. Speaking in Padma Purana, Shiva says, Mukti pradata sarvesham Vishnur eva na sanyasaha. Undoubtedly, Vishnu Krishna is the only deliverer of liberation for all. That was the Padma Purana. When surrender to Krishna is the only shelter from the cycle of birth and death, then it stands to reason that one should take shelter of Krishna and forego the worship of the various demigods. Verse 24. Avyaktam vyaktim appanam manyante mam abudayaha param bhavam ajananto mama vyayam anutamam. My nature is eternal, supreme, and imperishable. Yet less intelligent persons cannot comprehend this and consider me to be the impersonal that has now accepted a material form. Verse 25. Naham prakasha sarvasya yogamaya samaritaha mudoyam na bijanati lokomamajam avyayam. I do not manifest myself to everyone. I am hidden by my yogamaya potency, and thus the foolish cannot recognize me as eternal and unborn. Anuvritti commentary by Srila Guru Maharaj. Herein Sri Krishna states his position quite unequivocally. He is eternal, without birth, supreme, and imperishable. To this he adds that those who are foolish, muda, consider his appearance in this world to be a temporary appearance of the impersonal Brahman in material form. Such misguided philosophers consider that Krishna's body is material and that Krishna, like other living beings, is a manifestation from the Brahmajyoti. In chapter 14 of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna will explain that he is the very source of the Brahmajyoti and that all living beings emanate from him. Krishna does not manifest or reveal himself to everyone, particularly to those who are envious or jealous of him. To the envious, Krishna is covered by his own spiritual potency, Yogamaya, and at the same time the envious are covered by Mahamaya in the cycle of birth and death. Verse 26. Vedaham samatitani vartamanani karjuna bhavishani chabutani mam tu vedana kaschana. O Arjuna, I know past, present, and future. I know all living beings, but they do not know me. Verse 27. Ichadvesha samutena dvandva mohena bharata sarvabhutani samoham sargayante parantapa. O conqueror of the enemy, at the beginning of creation, all living beings are born bewildered by the dualities of desire and hatred. Verse 28. Yesham tvantagatam papam janamam punya karmanam te dvandva moha nirmukta bhajante mam dridavrataha. Yet those that perform pious activities become purified of all reactions. They become free from the illusions of duality and worship me with dedication. Verse 29. Jaramarana mokshaya mamashritya yatantiye te brahmatad vidu krishnam atyatmam karma chakilam. Those that strive to become free from old age and death by taking shelter of me know the absolute truth, the individual self, and the laws of action and reactions. Verse 30. Sadi bhutadi daivam mam sadi yashnam chaye vidu prayana kali picha mam te vadur yukta chetashaha. Those who know me to be the controller of matter, the controller of the demigods, and the recipient of all sacrifices, with their minds concentrated upon me, they will know me at the time of death. Anuvritti commentary by Srila Guru Maharaj. The knowledge in Bhagavad Gita cannot be found outside Vedic literature. No literary source in the world compares with the Gita. The divinity of Sri Krishna is stated with such clarity and boldness that no doubt can remain in the mind of a serious student of yoga. Krishna has made it very clear that he is eternal, without birth, supreme, and imperishable. He knows past, present, and future. He knows all living beings, and those who fix their minds in meditation on Krishna, knowing him to be the controller of everything, will not have to take birth again in this material world. Om Tat Sat Taditri Shri Mahabharate Shata Sabashriyam Samhitayam Vayasikyam Bhishma Parvani Srimad Bhagavad Gita Supani Satsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastri Shri Krishna Arjuna Sambade Gana Vigana Yogo Nama Saptamodhyayaha. Om Tat Sat. Thus ends Chapter 7, entitled Gyan Vigyan Yoga, from the conversation between Sri Krishna and Arjuna in the Upanishad known as Srimad Bhagavad Gita, the Yoga Shastra of divine knowledge from the Bhishma Parva of Mahabharata, the literature revealed by Vyasa in 100,000 verses. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Shri Guru Maharaj ki jai, Shri Guru Parampara ki jai. Gaur Premanandi, Hari 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 Bol. So we'll begin Chapter 8 in the next segment, Taraka Brahma Yoga, the Yoga of the Supreme.